Have you ever, like, poured your absolute heart into a project?
Oh, yeah. Way too many times.
Right, like you map out every tiny detail, you're working late into the night, you execute everything flawlessly, and then you just watch it completely implode anyway.
It is honestly a uniquely crushing feeling.
It really is. It's like you do all the math perfectly, but you still somehow arrive at the wrong answer.
And I mean, our natural reflex in that exact moment is usually to just audit our effort, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess I just didn't work hard enough.
Right. We tell ourselves we didn't grind hard enough, or, we used the wrong tools, or maybe we just need better time management.
Which is why I'm so excited for today's deep dive. Because we're looking at a set of ideas that just completely flits that script.
It really does. It's an essay titled Strategic Life by Feng, and it was edited by Courier.
And the core argument here is that your effort probably wasn't the issue at all.
No, not at all.
Your blueprint was. So that distinction, right, between tactical effort and strategic direction, that is our mission today. We want to explore how a misunderstanding of those two forces might be the exact reason you feel like you're just running on a treadmill.
Yeah, and what is so compelling about the source material is how it takes a concept that is usually reserved for, like, corporate boardrooms.
Right, very business heavy.
Yeah, but it applies it to the most intimate parts of human existence. It forces this massive paradigm shift.
So before we get too deep, we should probably define the terms, right?
Nope.
Strategy versus tactics.
Definitely. So strategy is defined as the overall planning and design. It's the macro vision of what you are actually trying to achieve.
Okay.
And tactics are, the specific daily measures you take to execute that plan.
The actual grunt work.
Exactly. And the author uses this highly visual example to separate the two. He says, imagine you want to build a skyscraper.
Okay, so structurally, you'd go out and source the highest grade steel available. You hire the absolute most brilliant architects.
Right, you bring in top-tier construction crews.
So your tactical execution is, like, flawless.
Flawless. But your strategic decision was to build that massive skyscraper on a foundation of loose sand.
Oh. Yeah, that's not going to end well.
No. A single breeze comes along and the entire thing just collapses.
And your tactical success instantly goes to absolute zero.
To zero.
I mean, it's like running a marathon, right?
Yeah.
You've got perfect pacing, immaculate breathing form, you bought the best carbon-plated shoes money can buy.
Right, you're doing everything right.
But you're running in the exact opposite direction of the finish line.
It's brutal. That zero-sum reality is just brutal. But it happens constantly. And the author shares this striking personal anecdote to really illustrate how seductive tactical effort can be.
Yeah, the Zimbabwe story.
Right. So he was helping this remote village in Zimbabwe drill a water well. And the village, they desperately needed a water source.
Like survival level need.
Exactly. So they mobilized the entire community. They spent days just hacking a 10-kilometer road through the dense bush.
10 kilometers.
Just to get the heavy equipment in.
Wow.
Yeah, and hundreds of villagers were cheering as these massive drill trucks finally arrived. And they drilled down 90 meters into the earth.
90 meters down.
Over 2 straight days of drilling.
That is just massive collective physical effort.
And they didn't hit a single drop of water.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the hydrographic staff had just chosen a completely dry spot.
So the strategy was flawed from minute one.
Minute one, rendering literally all that incredible tactical effort completely worthless.
Which, that brings up a massive question about human behavior for me.
Yeah.
If the difference between strategy and tactics is so stark, like so obvious in hindsight, why are we so prone to making this mistake?
That's the real question.
Why do we run in the wrong direction so enthusiastically?
Well, it fundamentally comes down to how our brains are wired. We biologically crave the tangible, immediate feedback of tactical progress.
Oh, so like checking boxes.
Exactly. Chopping down trees for a road gives you a visible result right there. Sweating through a marathon feels productive. We get a massive dopamine release simply from crossing an item off a to-do list.
Even if the list is useless.
Exactly. The physical mechanics of the work seduce us. They seduce us into ignoring the much harder, highly abstract question of, well, are we even digging in the right place?
We basically get blinded by our own sweat.
That's a great way to put it.
But, it's not just massive infrastructure projects where these blind spots happen. The essay moves into how these strategic errors happen in everyday business and, even in nature.
Right, yeah. The author references this classic marketing case study about an American shoe factory. They were exploring expansion into Africa, so they send 2 researchers to scope out the territory.
Okay.
One reports back and says, hey, there is zero market here because literally no one wears shoes.
Makes sense on paper.
But the other researcher reports back and says, there is an infinite market here for the exact same reason.
That is wild. 2 radically different strategic interpretations of the exact same data points.
Same data, completely different strategy. And the author points out other mismatches too, like the strategic disaster of trying to sell a shipping container of women's socks to a population that at the time just simply didn't wear them.
Right. Or he mentions the idea of building a soy sauce factory in Siberia.
Yeah, instead of like a gem processing plant.
It's just a complete mismatch with the environment.
But honestly, the most memorable example in the essay brings this concept directly into his own home.
Oh, the ant story.
Yes.
Yeah.
He talks about finding this black slag on the pristine white tiles of his bathroom floor.
Just randomly appearing.
Yeah, and his gardener sweeps it spotless every single day. And the next morning, the black specks are just right back again.
So frustrating.
So when the author finally gets down on his hands and knees to really investigate, he realizes it's a colony of tiny ants.
Wow.
Yeah, they're trying to build a nest right there in the grout line against the wall.
In a bathroom.
In a sterile bathroom. And the author notes feeling this sense of deep pity for them. Because, I mean, the ants were working incredibly hard.
Massive tactical dedication.
Exactly. But they made a fatal strategic error. A clean human bathroom contains absolutely no food source.
So they were doomed from the start.
They should have nested out on the lawn or, under a tree root.
Okay, but wait, I have to push back on the ant example a little bit.
Right, okay.
Are the ants really actively choosing a bad strategy? I mean, they don't have a war room where they review floor plans.
Right.
They're just following pheromone trails.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like blaming them for just being victims of circumstance. I guess I'm asking, do we sometimes weaponize this idea of bad strategy against people in our own lives who are honestly just dealing with terrible luck?
That is a crucial distinction to make, and it raises a really vital point about agency.
Okay.
Because yes, the ants lack the cognitive hardware to zoom out, assess their macro environment, and realize they're in a sterile bathroom. They're entirely bound by instinct.
They literally can't know any better.
Exactly. But the author is using the ants as a mirror for human behavior precisely because we do have that cognitive hardware.
Oh, I see.
We possess self-awareness.
So we actually have the ability to realize we're in the bathroom.
Precisely. A strategic life requires periodically stepping back to evaluate your environment. If you are grinding away in a career or a relationship or a city that offers no food, no growth, no joy, no alignment with your values, and you refuse to move to the lawn, you cannot chalk that up to bad luck forever.
Wow. That's heavy.
For a human being, staying in the sterile bathroom is a failure of strategy.
But why do we stay then?
We often stay because of the sunk cost fallacy. We've already spent years building half the nest, so we just keep building, even if we are starving.
Right. We refuse to waste the effort we've already spent, so we just double down on the bad location.
Exactly.
Well, that realization is actually a perfect bridge into the internal reflection part of this essay. Because the author doesn't just point out the problem. He lays out 3 specific pillars for how to build a strategic life as an individual.
Yes, he does.
Let's dig into the first one, which is play to your strengths and do what you actually want to do.
Which sounds deceptively simple, right?
Yeah, almost like a graduation speech cliche, follow your passion.
But the author takes a much more uncompromising stance here. He argues that if a role fundamentally does not fit you, you are actually better off staying completely idle than forcing yourself into it.
Just doing nothing is better.
Yes.
And he uses some pretty intense examples to back that up. Like, he talks about Mother Teresa.
Right.
Known globally for her immense compassion, caring for the destitute. But he says if she decided to spend her life studying radioactive elements like Marie Curie, she likely would have accomplished absolutely nothing.
It's just a total mismatch of innate ability. He also brings up Chen Jing'un,
Yes, the mathematician.
a legendary Chinese mathematician who made historic breakthroughs on the Goldbach conjecture.
Okay, wait, for those of us who aren't, like, math historians, what exactly is the Goldbach conjecture?
So it is one of the oldest and most famous unsolved problems in number theory.
Okay.
It basically suggests that every even integer greater than 2 is the sum of two primes. And engaging with it requires a level of abstract, solitary genius that is incredibly rare.
Well, okay.
And Lifechanyuan possessed that genius. But the author points out, if you took that exact same brilliant mind and forced him to be, say, a corporate HR manager,
Oh, no.
dealing with interpersonal conflicts and performance reviews all day, it would be an unmitigated disaster.
It would be terrible. And he even mentions his own distant uncle in the essay, too.
Oh, the carpenter story?
Yeah. The guy apprenticed as a carpenter for 3 full years.
50 years.
3 years of daily, grueling tactical effort. But at the end of it, without his master holding his hand, he couldn't even build a basic chair on his own.
The uncle simply wasn't born with the spatial reasoning or the mechanical intuition required for carpentry.
So all that effort was essentially wasted.
Exactly. And this pushes really hard against the modern narrative of hustle culture, you know?
Yeah, the idea that sheer grit and hard work can overcome any deficit.
The author fundamentally disagrees with that. He's saying if you are misaligned with your innate strengths, you are building on sand. Finding your bedrock isn't a luxury. It is the first prerequisite of strategy.
But knowing your strengths isn't enough on its own, is it? I mean, you can be the greatest carpenter in the world, but if you're trying to build a house in the middle of a hurricane, you're still going to fail.
Very true.
Which brings us to the author's second pillar, aligning with the environment around you. The author calls this complying with time. You know, you sow the seeds in spring and you harvest in autumn.
Right. He uses the phrase being punished by the Tao of heaven if you act inversely to nature. Yeah, the Tao roughly translates to the natural order or the fundamental flow of the universe. It is really about reading the seasons of your life and your society.
And he grounds this highly philosophical idea with some pretty heavy historical examples.
He does.
First, he talks about the people of Yiwu in Zhejiang province. Historically, they're known for having incredible, shrewd business acumen.
Very talented merchants.
Right. But during the Cultural Revolution, their specific talents couldn't be utilized at all.
The season was entirely wrong for their skill set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he also mentions a talented man he knew who was involved in a democracy movement. And the author explicitly notes the movement itself was above board. But this man ended up sitting in prison for over 10 years.
And the author attributes that imprisonment to an error in timing.
Right.
The man acted out of season. The essay uses this incredible metaphor of wanting to eat his watermelon before it was ripe.
That's a vivid image. And, you know, just to be super clear here for everyone listening, we are definitely not taking political sides here. We're just reporting the examples the author used.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we aren't endorsing any political stances at all.
Right. Just unpacking the author's argument.
Because the mechanics of the argument are what matter here. The tragedy of the unripe watermelon is just an incredibly potent image.
Yeah.
You can possess massive talent and put in endless effort, but if you plant your seeds in the dead of winter, you will lose the crop.
Period.
Societal conditions, market trends, even your own personal life stages, they all act as weather systems. You have to read the weather.
But how do we actually do that? I mean, how do you objectively know what season you are in?
Well, it requires detached observation. Like, are the doors you are pushing on locked, or do they open with slight pressure?
Okay, I like that.
Are your ideas gaining traction, or are you constantly shouting into the wind? If you are perpetually exhausted by friction, you might be planting in winter. Timing is a non-negotiable strategic factor.
Okay, so you need to know your innate strength.
Yeah.
And you need to wait for the right season.
Yep.
But then we hit the third strategic issue, and this is where the essay throws a really fascinating curveball.
Oh, definitely.
Because even with the right strengths and perfect timing, there is a behavioral trap that can sabotage everything. The author says you must place yourself in the right position and do not, quote, overstep.
Right. This shifts the focus entirely from what you should pursue to what you must actively avoid doing.
He argues that you have to do your own duties conscientiously, but you must keep your mouth shut about things outside your scope.
Even if the sky falls.
Yes, his words. Even if the sky falls.
Yeah.
He actually brings in a quote from Jesus here.
Yeah.
Why look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye?
And the examples he provides here are deeply relatable if you've ever worked in an office environment.
Oh, for sure.
He describes colleagues who constantly critique leadership decisions or, complain about how other departments operate.
The office gossips.
Exactly. They become nuisances, they get consumed by frustration, and ultimately they accomplish nothing.
He mentions that assistant general manager, too.
Yes, a brilliantly talented assistant GM who had massive potential, but was fired simply because he couldn't stop nitpicking the general manager's decisions.
Okay, I have to throw a massive flag on a play
I'm
here.
for it.
Keep your mouth shut even if the sky falls. I mean, that sounds dangerously close to just becoming a compliant yes man.
It does sound like that.
If the leadership is making a catastrophic error that is going to sink the company, isn't speaking up the moral thing to do, doesn't this strategy just enable terrible management?
That is the immediate, visceral reaction most people have to this rule. It sounds like an endorsement of apathy or even cowardice.
Yeah, exactly.
But remember, the author is analyzing this purely through the lens of individual strategy, not corporate morality.
Okay.
He is making a brutal economic judgment about your personal bandwidth.
An economic judgment. Unpack how that works in practice.
Okay, think of your daily mental and emotional energy as a finite currency.
Okay, finite currency.
If you spend that currency trying to manage someone else's domain, gossiping, criticizing leadership, getting emotionally invested in decisions you have literally no power to change, you are bleeding out the exact energy you need to execute your actual purpose.
Wow. Okay.
The author isn't saying you should ignore evil. He is pointing out that fixating on the plank in your boss's eye usually just gets you fired.
Which leaves you with zero influence anyway.
Exactly.
So it's about not spending your finite currency on battles you structurally cannot win.
Yes. It is an argument for radical focus. The ant shouldn't waste energy complaining about the gardener's sweeping techniques, right?
Right.
It needs to use every ounce of its energy to just find the lawn. If you overstep your position, you drain your strategic reserves.
Protecting your energy reserves. Man. Well, that actually brings us to the grand finale of the piece.
Yes.
We've talked about where to build factories, how to read the seasons, and how to survive office politics without draining your bandwidth.
Yeah, all very practical stuff.
But the essay takes all these highly practical concepts and funnels them into one massive philosophical conclusion.
The scope of the essay widens dramatically in its final pages.
It really does. The author poses the ultimate question. What is the single biggest strategic issue in a human life?
And his answer is the soul.
The soul.
He quotes Jesus again here, asking, "For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?"
So he takes it from the micro to the macro.
He begins by connecting the micro decisions we've discussed to this macro reality. He argues that losing your soul for wealth or power or fame or lust are obvious strategic errors.
Which I think most modern people would readily agree with.
Sure. But then he introduces an incredibly provocative extension of that idea.
Yeah, this part is wild. He writes that sacrificing your soul for money is a mistake. But crucially, losing your soul for your family, your ethnic group, your religion, your political party, or your country is also a fatal strategic mistake.
Which completely subverts standard societal conditioning.
Ollie.
I mean, we are widely taught that sacrificing your internal self for your family or your nation is the highest possible virtue.
And again, we should probably pause and explicitly state that we are not advocating for abandoning your family or endorsing these specific theological teachings.
Right. Or telling you to turn your back on your country.
Exactly. We are just examining the internal logic of how the author reaches this profound, paradigm-shifting conclusion about life strategy.
And the author reaches this conclusion by making a definitive claim about the nature of reality.
Okay.
He posits that everything in the material world, the businesses, the political movements, the social hierarchies, even familial obligations, are ultimately a game.
A game.
He argues the only thing that possesses permanent reality is the soul.
Everything is but a game. That line, it requires some processing.
Deep.
How does treating your career or your societal duties like a game actually function for someone, commuting to work on a Tuesday morning?
Well, treating it as a game does not mean you act recklessly or maliciously. Think about how you play a complex board game with friends. You try to win, you learn the rules, you engage deeply with it.
Yeah, you don't just flip the board.
Exactly. But at the end of the night, you know the cardboard pieces aren't reality. Your intrinsic self-worth isn't attached to the plastic tokens.
Ah, I see.
The author is saying that if you attach your deepest, truest self to the outcomes of the material world, you are making a catastrophic strategic error.
Because the material world is the sand.
Exactly. The essay concludes with very rich Buddhist imagery to drive this home. It talks about cultivating a mind that does not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma.
Let's pause there real quick. What does abiding in dharma actually mean in this context?
So in this specific usage, it means not attaching your mind to rigid concepts, phenomena, or even philosophical teachings.
Okay.
It is about letting go of absolute fixations. The author writes that when you achieve this profound level of detachment, the Tathagata comes.
The Tathagata.
Yes. It's a term often used to describe the Buddha, representing the state of ultimate truth and liberation.
So true enlightenment arrives when you stop attaching your soul to the game.
It is masterful how the essay weaves together Christian scripture and Buddhist philosophy to arrive at a universal, highly practical point.
It really is.
Tactical success, getting the promotion, building the massive company, or even becoming a celebrated martyr for a political cause is entirely worthless if the macro strategy costs you your internal peace and your spiritual integrity.
It fundamentally changes the entire definition of success.
Completely.
Man, let's pull all these threads together. We started with the tragedy of drilling 90 meters into dry dirt in Zimbabwe and watching ants build doomed nests on sterile bathroom tiles.
Right.
And we learned that avoiding those fates requires identifying our true innate strengths, refusing to be the uncle who simply cannot build a chair.
Yep.
It requires reading the weather and waiting for our watermelon to ripen. It demands that we protect our energy by focusing only on our own speck and not the plank in someone else's eye.
And ultimately, it all culminates in protecting the integrity of the soul above the games of the material world.
It is a comprehensive diagnostic scan of how we are operating in reality.
It truly is.
So I want to pose a question to you listening right now. Think about the hardest thing you are working on today. The project or goal that is draining your energy and causing you the most friction. Are you absolutely certain you were digging in the right place?
Yeah.
Or are you just laying perfect, beautiful bricks on a foundation of sand?
And to push that reflection one layer deeper, the author asserts that all the external things we stress over except the soul are merely elements of a game.
Right.
If you genuinely internalize that belief, how would it completely rewrite the to-do list you make tomorrow morning?
Wow. That is a massive question to sit with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. Keep questioning your blueprints, keep checking your foundations, and we'll see you next time.